Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Ellie Holder. Uh, no shows tomorrow, folks. No trivia, no news, no weather and lifestyle. It's my birthday, and I've got lots and lots of plans. So, you birthday wishes on the Investigators page, Hellions, Holes, and Poles, or even on my own page, or here tonight. Um, I'm going to have a great birthday, and I'm looking forward to it. All right. Off to the news. Boy, the money that they waste on the budgets. Now, you have to realize over the last few years that the budget, what they signed in, a lot of frivolous money, and they're not telling us about. And it's billions of dollars. Um, and for things that we don't even need to be paying for. What about get this, you signed up for $420 billion a year for the migrants alone. I mean, when's the last time we seen $420 billion spent on the homeless or the veterans? The veterans, for sure. This being the time of celebrating and honoring our veterans. And then you find out we're spending $420 billion on migrants. It's medical, it's education, it's all kinds of stuff. So um, we got to look. The budget is something, and we're going further and further in debt. And what gets me with this budget is the Republicans are splitting it up and the Democrats are having a cow. But they're only having problems with it because they can't add their stuff. There's a when this is what gets me with the Democrats. They will, like the Green New Deal. We're going to be paying for that forever. I don't even know the millions of dollars we're going to pour in it annually. But what they do is they open up Green New Deal offices all over the United States. And they put it close to a congressman or a senator of a Democrat. So they open this office up and then they fill it with their friends. And their friends make money. They make money. We all no, we don't make money. We pay for it. We pay for their friends that know nothing about what they're doing. This administration has been so full of people that don't know what they're doing that and we're paying for it, millions and millions, billions, trillions, because we're in the trillions. So do we need more added to it? So now that we have a Speaker of the House, and he's not going for this, he's not going to stand for it. He's not going to add frivolous money on a shopping spree for the Democrats. That's the whole thing, and they're having. I'm waiting for a fight. Did you see the senator with the guy from what's that called? William, what's it called? The union boss kind of guy. He says he wants to go back to mob mentality, and he was cursing this guy out. So the senator that is a fighter, he challenged him. And he says, "Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there at the hearings. You going to be there? Oh yeah, oh yeah." So he challenges them, and get this. So Bernie Sanders, no, pipe down. Why doesn't he why doesn't he silence T-Lib and AOC and Maxine Waters? Let's go beat them up. Boy. So hi to William and Mary and Susan. And Susan's brother is stable, kind of. We're still asking for prayers. So the Biden Jinping meeting, what was that all about? Well, he says, we're going to work on the fentanyl thing. Oh, yeah, and he says we weren't. Don't blame us for the pandemic. Biden called him a dictator, and Jinping was surprised. He said that. Now, what I'm hearing is Jinping said that's not what was supposed to be said. Biden, you know what? I think he did it, the dictator thing. He's going to lash out. But I think Jinping knew about it. That little walk they took. Yeah. And I know Biden's like, don't turn anything over about my son. Don't turn anything over about me. I'll give you everything with this APEC that you want. That's my opinion. What do you think, William? What do you think, chat room? What do you think, viewers? Put it in the comments. What do you think about this? I think he caved to Jinping. Now, as far as Taiwan goes, he said he's going to continue to uh, go into and take over. And he also mentioned cutting our military back. He wanted to know why why we have such uh, a stronghold in the Pacific. And uh, Biden's his response was because we're on the Pacific, and he was okay with that. Um, Me and William talked about this last night, and I think Jinping had the upper edge. He didn't want to claim anything about the pandemic. He's going to work on fentanyl, but we know he lies. He wants to work on AI and kind of cut back on what the United States are doing. He wants to be able to do more business here. Um, I think it was just a whole washout, but it was great for Jinping. In Taiwan, yep, it's still going to happen, he says. So, everybody was all excited about it, and I wasn't really. I'm not real excited about it because I knew we have a president that isn't all there, and Jinping will just take advantage of them. And I want to know what happened on the walk. I know there was somebody there recording the whole thing. I want to know what was said. If Trump had to turn over all of his stuff of what was ever said to anybody, I think we need to know what the conversation was. All right, so France issues warrants for the Syrian president. 3 generals alleging involvement in war crimes. The French judicial authorities on Wednesday issued international arrest warrants for Bashar Assad and his brothers and 2 army generals for their alleged involvement in war crimes against humanity, including 2013 chemical attack on the rebel-held Damascus suburbs. In addition, President Assad arrest warrants were issued for his brother, Mayor Assad, and the commander of the 4th Armored Division and 2 Syrian army generals, Ghassan Abbas and Bassam al-Hassan. So, wow, but things are moving. So will the French be able to get anything against the Syrian president and his brother? We'll have to see. They could get all the warrants they want, but it doesn't mean they're going to flip over and submit to what France wants. Lawmakers to target CCP-linked biotech firm accused of stealing American DNA. Congressional lawmakers appear ready to do a ban on the CCP-linked biotech firm from operating in the U.S. It was accused of stealing Americans' DNA. Now, I believe we did a story on this about a month ago, and Congress wants to take action now on this. The CCP-linked firm, Beijing Genomics Institute, BGI, would effectively lose its ability to operate in the United States. So we have a CCP with a lab operating in the United States. That's what gets me, folks, is because, we're hearing about we got spies coming in. We've got China buying up farms next to military bases. And now we're finding out that they have a Beijing Geometrics Institute here in the United States. And it's reshaping the political posture between the US and China. The CCP biotech giant concerns lawmakers for several reasons. The Pentagon lists BGI as a Chinese military company. In 2021, U.S. intelligence assessment linked BGI to the efforts to obtain human DNA from the United States from all U.S. citizens that has put their DNA in. That's even including family ancestry. CCP linked companies must share their compiled data with the CCP. BGI America operated since 2010. And the other thing was Obama was okay with BGI operating here in the United States. It was going to bring the United States biolabs together with China to be able to make sure we could curb not only Ebola, but other viruses that might arise. The legislation must also support the Senate and is prepared to introduce a similar legislation to ensure that the DNA is going to be restricted. But it's too late. Think about 2010 till now. It's 13 years they've been collecting DNA on everybody. To me, that just it boggles my mind that we actually let them do that. But at the same time, we were encouraging China to come here and start businesses to be able to save their economics and their the economic plan they had for there, because China's a big failure in losing lots of money. Um, so. Um, let's see. Now, Israel Defense Force released videos proving what we knew about Hamas and the hospitals. Now, the most updated that I was able to get this afternoon was they have found one of the hostages. I think she's in her 60s, next to the hospital. And not only that, but as they're going through, they have not found any tunnels or any Hamas terrorists or anything basically that will lead them to find them or any of the rest of the hostages. So I'm keeping an ear out and I'm keeping an eye out for this. Boy, I'm going through these quick. Now, this is something we already knew. George Soros funded prosecutor finds himself without a job. Well, they're starting to, with the, we got a, was it Marjorie Taylor Greene or something, Marjorie Green or whatever her name is? She is just on this. And when she is looking at this and George Soros, the radical left basically has been supporting him on the DA, the judges, the schools. And, money can't buy power, at least when good men and women take the time to get out and vote. That's what's going to stop all this. And as we see the radical left and District Attorney Buddha Birajah, I guess, was ousted by Republican Bob Anderson despite spending a lot more money, according to WTTG. Um, he dropped 1.1 million that was reported on her campaign. 70,000 Anderson spent. And now, so you can get the picture. That if you look at campaign funding, that's the big thing. As we go, even with this GOP, they have to have so many millions in donations, so much backing, and that's how they move along. Well, to make sure some of these people would get in, they would triple their campaign finances to make sure that so they're buying their way in. Um, so now Buddha is now starting to lose the votes because they're finding out what has happened. Now, the Soros-backed Justice and Public Safety PAC has spent $926,000 since 2019 backing her. This money was paid for a barrage of advertisement, literature, polling services. Also funded two won re-elections of Dayagani in Arlington County that ran opposed for Fairfax County. So he is we do this. He went through and he's funding DAs, he's funding AGs, he's funding chief of police, he's funding governors and public defenders is the big one. So yeah, William, you're right on this with U.S. soldiers holding Chinese flags in San Francisco. I wonder how much they were paid. Now, get this. There is money that's put out through U.S. aid, I believe. I'm trying to track this, where the money is. And in between George Soros and U.S. aid and others, they are funding protesters. And they even give them the slogans, they pay for the signs, they pay for their way to get there. And so, William, I'm thinking, I know you and me think about the same. These protesters were paid to hold those flags. And speaking of protesters, you see the ones that tried to get into the DNC? They're mad. Um, so protesters, we're finding out people are getting fed up with them. And there's even, when they stand in front of cars, they're running them over. They're picking them up, they're throwing them out of the way. They're getting sick of these protesters. What's wrong with these guys? Are they robots? I mean, because I watched this one where they took this guy out. He got up and went back over and got in line again. They're just, let's do away with oil. Well, you're not going to do away with oil. It's going to take years, and there's many countries that use the oil. So they'd have to go all around the world to stop the oil. What about the Green New Deal? Well, it's not a big thing. And they're standing in front of cars, and cars are they're getting out and they're beating them up. I'm I'm like, yeah, I get them. But I can't think that way. But what is wrong with these kids? It's like they've Green New Deal. We're going to die tomorrow. We're going to die tomorrow. So I could be hit by a car because I'm going to die tomorrow anyway. What kind of programming in this brain is this? They robots? They're so or even Israel with the thing with Israel, death to America. They say, why? They live here. Well, where are they going to go? If we're going to ruin America, where are they going to go? What a bunch of dummies. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm like, I'm gonna poor William. He says there's things I'd say, but I don't think it'd be allowed. Well, there's things I want to say about these dummies and these idiots that want to stand in front of cars, and cars are saying nope, we're going to run them over. And they block buses. Buses, okay, so they're filled with people that aren't driving cars, which would help the green deal. So they're going to block the bus. So they want them to drive their cars. Makes no sense. They're idiots. If you got these kids that are doing this, tell them they're making fools of themselves now because we're fed up. We're fed up with the protesters. Yes, and George Soros funding these idiots. Um, when it comes to Iran, Joe Biden and this administration have been played like a fiddle by Iranians and their proxy terrorist Hamas. Do you think the timing of Hamas attacks on Israel was random? Think again. This attack was not only planned, but it was executed with a goal of causing maximum damage to Israel society. It was timed perfectly to coincide with this Simchat Torah. Almost 50 years to the day Yom Kippur War began. How's that for Iranian planning? Why did Hamas do this? You wonder. Iran wants nothing more than to keep Israel and the Sunni Arab nations at loggerheads. This isn't just speculation. Secretary of Blinken said, just resume the aid to Palestinian Authority that Trump withheld and he bragged about. This is the same Palestinian Authority that publicly announces will continue to pay families of terrorist suicide bombers. They didn't just stop there, though. They want to appease the anti Semite squad. Not to be outdone by Obama airlifting pallets of cash to Iran. Um, Biden greenlit $10 billion released to Iran as of yesterday. Is it another prisoner swap? Well, a lot are saying, but 1 million is given to aid for the people. Wait a minute, we gave them 10 bill, and they're only going to spend a mill on their people. It, is it that 25%? When you give to an organization or foundation, they can keep 30, believe 30% of what you give. And I think that's how Iran looks at it. They're like, okay, you give us 10 billion, we give our people 10%. Well, we'll give them 1%. And we're going to take the rest. And what do they do with the rest? We find out it makes the sheiks very rich. I don't know if they're called sheiks in Iran. Ayatollah makes him very rich in his onslaught of uh, people around him. And then a lot of it is into making weapons. And then he sends money to terrorist groups. Now, the thing is are we going to go to war with Iran? It seems like everybody's pushing us that way. I was watching clips earlier and reading some articles that we've even got Republicans saying we need to stop Iran. We need to go after Iran. We need to have a war with Iran. Uh, but no, we don't. I mean, did they say it's because they're the cause of Hezbollah, Hamas, and other terrorist organizations is able to get a hold of military equipment and money and we pay for it. That 10 billion, yeah, we paid for that. You know what's even more sick is when you start looking at the frivolous crap that we do. Um, we not only did we give money to Iran and the 420 annually to the migrants, but get this: if you're a transgender and you go into prison, we pay for your surgeries to have your private parts uh, subtracted or added. We pay for that. We pay for their prison, them being in jail or prison. Then we pay for their luxuries of food and medical and whatever else. See, the medical is the thing. So we spend millions on the prisons for transgenders to finish changing. I mean, let that sink in. That's that dark money I'm talking about. And then we've even got dark money that we're funding. This is the little things they put in these budgets. Why do you think it's like 4 or 5 thousand pages? And they spring it on the Republicans the night before and said, "Oh, we added 2,000 pages." Well, oops, almost spilled my coffee. Um, they throw new things in there to fund what they want, and they hope that the Republicans don't find it, and they give them about 24 hours to look at it. And of course, there's not enough time. And some of this dark money that they're signing in is funding terrorism. Senator Josh Hawley, he's a Republican out of Missouri, suggested that the Senate Judiciary Committee investigate a Democrat Party affiliated group linked to funding Palestinian terrorism. But not only that, but other groups of terror considered terrorism and funding them. If the Senate committee is going to hand out subpoenas, let's start with the Democrat dark money group that has poured 1 million into Palestinian terror-tied charities. Holly posted on X, Twitter, the um, of details of a network on the left-leaning groups that steered funding towards progressive charity with ties to terror groups. Because we don't look at what Congress and Senate what they do with their money. It's just like I know that I watch them go and look for resources to buy in other countries like Pakistan and Iran, and uh, are they really are they looking at the resources, or are they uh, paying for terrorism? We don't know. But Ollie says he's got the evidence on this now. There was two tax-exempt organization, New Venture Fund and Windward Fund. In October, stopped providing grants to the um, Alliance for Global Justice in Arizona. Did you know about that? The Global Alliance or Alliance for Global Justice, and that's where they move that money around. They'll put it in here in that fund, and they'll move it over to Cyprus, or they'll move it over into a country like Switzerland where the money could just be hidden. And the Clintons have been doing that for years. The Clintons did it when they were here. They would get funding and they would put it into a bank, then they'd move it to another bank, and they'd put it into a fund, and they'd move it into their foundation eventually. 11 pro-Israel groups linked to the collective Palestinian Venera, a French member of the Israeli designated terror coalition. The French group is linked to a Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestinian Terror Group. This was exposed. Um, I thought I had it. Um, the Examiner, that's who did it. The Examiner is the one that exposed it Wednesday with a report that revealed finance disclosures, and that it directed $501,000 in 2022 to the Alliance for Global Justice. Then they granted 525 for both environmental programs. See, the Green New Deal. The 2.5 million in grants, according to a 2021 IRS Form 990. The nonprofit organizations is what this is about. It reported 3 cash grants totaling in 27,000 to the Middle East, North Africa on return. It reported 10 million total revenue in 2021. They say that they have 4 areas of struggle: and economic justice, opposing U.S. militarism, a real democracy, ecologically integrity. It does a lot here. There's so much to this article that you could look into. It's on Zero Hedge. That we got to start looking at the dark money they're spending. They're not telling us about, but then all of a sudden we're paying for it. Look at what Eric Adams got himself into with Turkey. Shouldn't the people in New York be pissed off because they now found out he was putting money into Turkey instead of money into the city? Hmm. Um, and we did that show last night on the kids attacking people. Well, a mob attacks Detroit firefighters at an accident scene. Some may blame the video games, others the music. Some may even lay the problem at the feet of years of progression, education, politics, parents, while still others point prevalence of social media. Some will point out that the nuclear family has been atomized over the ages through sexual liberation. Why do kids at 4 and 5 years old, or even 3, need to worry about sex? They shouldn't be. Others look to conservatives who dithered out about taxes while the country rotted from the inside. More than likely, it was all of the above contributed to the chaos and reigns of the United States. So these kids blocked firefighters from going to a fire. It sees crazy idiots again. Crazy idiots. Um, and this is happening in mostly blue states. Jinping, he wasn't even impressed when they cleaned up the streets. He wasn't impressed one bit because he knew what Biden did. He knew they moved out all them homeless. Uh, uh, Jinping knows what the streets of San Francisco look like for real. And so when they cleaned it up, it wasn't good enough because he knows what's been there. So any needle or a piece of paper is going to be wrong in his eyes. No matter how clean the streets are, he was not happy or he wasn't satisfied with what they did to San Francisco. Oh boy. Um, um, we had, um, there was a SWAT cop, and ended up being two hostages had made bomb making materials. They caught this guy in Texas, and he had been able to carry out his plans. There could have been dozens and even hundreds killed, and he was stopped by others. Um, uh, Ahmed Mohammed Nassar, 35. He's lives in South Austin, was on the terror watch list, but the feds clearly weren't watching. They were too busy hunting for the January 6th insurrectionists. Police arrived within 10 minutes and discovered that two others had been hurt as well. They were inside the House of Horror. A third victim of Nassar um, escaped and was located by officers at a later time, reporting the suspect still possessed a knife. I think the knife is gone. And so now Austin has put an investigation in himself. Has to start on November 11th. Also get the right kind of military equipment to our troops because they've been finding bloody armor and protective plates, ballistic helmets, as well as an arm or a leg or a brain or a head. Body armor and protective plates to be included, um, as well as arm leg protection, night vision, goggles, firearms, ammunition. They need a bunch. They need a bunch. China isn't no Ukraine, and it's not little, it's huge because it's got the backing of the rest of the countries for the most part. You know the thing, I told William this. When it comes to voting, folks, because it was big on the polls today. I don't know why. All the news media had stuff on the polls, and Biden dropping down, Harris dropping down. Um, but they have a motto. It don't matter who it is. You always vote blue. Doesn't matter who. You always vote blue. So you see their mentality of this. It doesn't matter what the Democrats did, but in order to save the planet, you got to vote blue. It doesn't matter who the leader is, just vote blue. What a motto, huh? And then we're finding that this green agenda is driving inflation so high. And that's what the experts are saying. The leftist green agenda and policy are driving up inflation, raising the cost to the consumer. Not only that, but the cost of goods and depressing economic production. A top policy advisor and the Bank of England has admitted this. Net zero agenda has pushed so-called conservative party in the U.S. Or I'm sorry, in the UK, such as Texas on carbon emissions. These trading schemes are increasingly bringing up inflation. And so I'm surprised UK came out with it, but the EU is complaining. Poland's saying they want out of this war with Zelensky, and everything's coming over here, and we're starting to see the hate. But Netanyahu is very proud because 250 protesters showed up for the rally for Israel. Only 200 show up for their night. And not only did they pepper spray officers, one was hurt really bad. The others were pepper sprayed and had medical issues. One punched a female officer to be able to get in through the doors. They grabbed her. She grabbed her up, banged her head against the wall, and then just like fisted up and hit her. Now, I know William mentioned the flags in San Francisco being waved. It was China flags. Realize when I was there, it was going. Lots of China was moving in the same way as here in Arkansas, because when the Clintons handed a bunch over to China and the CCP, we started having issues here. We never were a sanctuary city, but Sarah Huckabee has been able to block it off. In Democrat sanctuary cities, they burn our flags, but they raise the flag, the Hamas flag. They raise a anti-POW flag. Like I said, they burn our American flags. They promote the rainbow flag. And if I think the draft needs to start with the migrants first. If we can find them. If we can find them. Now, when we look at the hearings this week, and we look at Ray and Mayorkas on the border, Ray shouldn't have to cover up for Mayorkas. That's what I got out of the hearing. I watched it and tried to keep, each side open to hear the complaints. But when we have dark money that's going to Hamas, going to Hezbollah, going to Afghanistan, going to Iran, we put money out for our hostages. Do we? And you can't tell a family member, no, we're not going to give them what they want, and more likely you're not going to get your loved one back. That's what's harsh. And the terrorists know this. They know that we cave very quickly here in the United States. And people aren't going to want to see horrible things happen to anybody, whether it's Ukraine or Taiwan or Haiti, Somalia, anywhere that we have went in, or China has went in with Belt and Road, is a loss, is a big loss. All right. A small town in Mexico, 300 people. Now there's like close to 700. And they had they were able to get a temporary visa and the ability to be able to um, uh, hmm, all right, I'm going to move on. Uh, I have an article in here, the same thing about the cartel. The cartel, yeah, we have to worry about the cartel because they are letting the drugs come in, letting the fentanyl come in, and it's not as and same way with the Canadian border. They're trying if they can't get it through Mexico, they're going around and they're going through uh, Iceland and into uh, Washington State. So we're going to keep an eye on it and see what happens over the next few days. Um, um, Gulf Cartel is sending bulk 50 ammunition caliber ammunition from Texas to Mexico. The gunmen have been buying thousands of rounds of ammunition in South Texas and smuggling it into Mexico. The bulk purchases of ammunition come as the Gulf Cartel has been waging turf, a fierce turf war between two of its rival fractions. Um, Now, Texas reported two fractions have been at war since late April. For their clashes, the cartel gunmen have been using armored vehicles, explosives, and 50 caliber rifles. And they've taken a few police cars. And one of them, when I picked who I thought was going to win, uh, well, no, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, um, the cartel, they have been um, they have been using armored vehicles, explosives, 50 caliber rifles, and other high performance weapons. They say. So this week, Mexico National Guard announced the seizure of close to 1,000 rounds of 50 caliber. That's a big gun, folks. That's not little. You know, you have like your 22, you have your 38, and um, so 50 caliber is pretty big. This isn't nothing to scoff at. That with that kind of bullet and what the guns are using, that's to kill. Now, a Texas man, boy, I can't believe a U.S. person would do this. Tried to smuggle from Brownsville, Texas, to Matamoros, um, in a black SUV. The seizure took place on the south side of the Veterans International Bridge. And that's what they said, and they arrested the man, and then they found a huge amount of drugs and explosives. And um, they've got their own tanks. Get this, they've got their own subs. Have you seen their subs? They're getting better. They're getting better at them, and they fill them full of drugs, and then they put one guy in it. And then, of course, when if they're busted out, this guy's saying, I'm a victim too. I got kidnapped and thrown in the submarine." But they have had a chance now. Uh, I'm pretty sure they had a few subs sink, but for the most part, they are now being able to smuggle through Pacific waters from Mexico up to uh, either San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Modesto, Stockton. Even we're seeing stuff towards Crescent City and Shasta, the northern part of the state. So, um, Okay, let's see. Now Texas is watching big time on Muslims on facial recognition, and they found two guys, Mohammed Nassar, 35. He was in South Austin. Uh, the incident began in wee hours in the morning with a 911 call from a stabbing victim. The police arrived within 10 minutes and discovered that two others had been hurt as well. The situation escalated. Um, a third victim of Nassar escaped and was located by officers. Reportedly, the suspect still possessed a knife. So we're more and more we're this sounds more and more like a third world country. I mean, pulling a gun or kidnapping or wanting ransom, wanting money. This to me that where is the cartel flipped over to uh, this to all the way to the viciousness and evil that they have. We're just going to have to, we have to watch all our fronts because we have uh, those coming in that are illegal that are we're finding they're terrorists coming from the northern border from Canada. We have them coming in from um, our southern border. We have Russia and China putting things on Cuba. And the Atlantic is where a lot of the submarines are. The Pacific, they're just trying to keep a stability for Taiwan. To me, with this meeting with Joe Biden and Jinping, it's we're gonna take Iran. There's nothing you could do about it. So Biden's like, yeah, okay, okay, okay. That's what I'm thinking. That's my opinion. I think he's like that Chihuahua in the back window that does the little head. Now, you guys remember Derek Chauvin? There's new evidence that shows he didn't cause George Floyd's death and attempts to overturn the conviction. Now, what was it? He overdosed on fentanyl. And they said with the knee on the neck, there wasn't it wasn't to the point he was starved of oxygen. They're now looking at fentanyl poisoning. And if that's the case, he wouldn't have lived. He probably wouldn't got in the car and could have drove home and died. He was over the limit for ingesting fentanyl. So they might be able to overturn this case on a technicality because a lot of people got mad when he's serving 21-year sentence right now, but they don't think it's enough. I mean, is 50, 60, 70, is it enough? That's what a lot of these convicts are saying. Because, they know if they can get that without a restrictions on it, that if it's an open prosecute on them, they can get half the time just for being a good prisoner. So, yeah, we just let them out. And it's noted on the autopsy papers that pathologists did not examine Floyd's body, but did a review autopsy in his motion. Siobhan, claims that no jury would have convinced him if he hadn't heard pathology evidence reports himself. That's why it's important. We can hear the propaganda. They did this, they did that, and a train derailment. It hit stuff on the train, and many were hurt. And that's a true story that happened, I believe, a couple hours ago. It's noted that the pathologist did not examine Floyd's body, but he did a review. And more they're having these hearings. And the more they're having these hearings, the more we're seeing resignations or people fired. And here we got these crazy protesters. They said it was a peaceful protest. Well, when you kill a cop, you spray pepper spray on the cops. Okay. We're having doggy issues tonight. So, all right. I think I got enough for one or two more. I just want to go over the things with the money that we spend. And when we start paying for migrants, the 420 million, when we give 10 billion to Iran, and we know what they're going to do with the money, all the money we put into the Paris Accord, the money we put into NATO, the UN, and Trump is right. We pay for all this. They're never going to collect any money from a little country like Guam or South Korea. It's not really little, but they just don't have the money. Their military and has been depleted in a way. But when we look at this dark money and you look at the prisons, that's the one that got me tonight, was paying for transgenders. And we're paying millions of dollars because if they want to transgender in prison, we pay for the surgeries. Well, what it is they have someone there that knows how to cut, and so they pay them, and then the money just goes up, up, up. So when we look at the money that the dark web or the elite are getting for small businesses, and then they wipe them out. It's about depopulation. And I know I've mentioned that before, and I'm going to keep shouting it because look at how many deaths there had been in these wars. Quite a few. And Klaus Schwab is just rubbing his little hands and licking his lips and saying, "This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted." But to be able for us to have to pay for a man in prison that wants to be a woman, okay, just he can, but he's going to have to wait till he gets out of prison, but they don't. So, all right, folks. I don't think I left anything out. Um, except for the Green New Deal isn't working. Um, country after country has fallen into failure, and it's due to the high cost of gas and oil. Now, we can have sustainable oil under the different administration, um, but I think the GOP needs to start taking out the bills that, like the Kennedy Center. You remember that one? They got millions of dollars for just being arts. Makes no sense. All right, folks. Subscribe, share, hit the like button. And again, there are no shows tomorrow. It's my birthday, and I'm going to go out. Um, I have dinner plans tonight and friends. And then tomorrow is going to be an all day thing with family. Um, my daughter, my granddaughters, and uh, so busy, busy day. So no shows, no trivia, no news, and no weather and lifestyle news. So we will see you all on Monday, and we'll be back. William with his show, me with Justice for All. Folks, give Justice for All a chance. If these are real cases, if you look them up, they're real cases of corruption that shouldn't be happening. And as we see this world being crazy and the corruption and the kids that are mindless and wanting to just stand in front of cars, I, I think if 50 years ago, 60 years ago, if we were out in front of cars, we'd be afraid to go home. Yeah, we'd be afraid to go home because of the punishment would be harsh. And I'm not saying to beat your kids or beat kids. I'm just saying that there's something wrong with the kids of today, and they're mindless and they're idiots. Okay, so we will see you guys on Monday, and I'm going to go celebrate my birthday. It's going to be a great evening and a great weekend. I got a lot even going on this weekend. I want to go see. There's a few movies I'd like to go see. All right, folks, we will see you on Monday. Hit the subscribe button, like, thumbs up. And if you're not being told that we're on live, hit that bell.